Hello Internet and welcome to another episode of EatFluencers. Today we are trying my personal recipe for my ultimate sandwich bread. This is the same bread we used in our previous video, the sandwich that killed Elvis. If you are like me, then you are not really fond of buying mass-produced white bread for your family. If that is the case, then follow me while I show you how to make a very easy white loaf, tastier and healthier than the store-bought. In this recipe, we are going to use a food mixer, but if you feel you can do it by hand, then go ahead. As far as the ingredients go, we are going to need all-purpose flour, salt, live active yeast, whole milk powder, sugar, olive oil or a vegetable oil of your choice, and water. The exact amounts are listed in the description. In a mixing bowl, combine all the ingredients except the flour and mix until everything is dissolved completely. The reason we are using milk powder is because the milk fats will give a darker color to the crust and a fuller flavor to our bread. Plus, it is an excellent yeast starter. Another thing to consider is the yeast you're using. If you decide to use dry yeast, then after everything is combined, you need to give the mixture a rest for about 15 minutes to activate the sleeping yeast before adding the flour. On the other hand, if you're using live active yeast, then go ahead and add the flour. And that is because live yeast does not require a resting period. After that, the next step is to set up your food mixer, if you're using one, and start the kneading process on the lowest setting. This recipe is also suitable for a bread machine as well, but be sure to read the manufacturer's manual on how to add the ingredients. While the dough is coming together, be sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl. After 15 minutes on the lowest setting, the dough should separate from the sides, but it should feel wet and moist to the touch. Continue kneading for 5 more minutes. If you feel that the dough is not coming together, then add a tablespoon of flour, but no more than a tablespoon. After the 20-minute mark, transfer the dough onto a floured work surface and continue kneading with your hands, pulling, stretching and folding the dough. You don't have to knead until the dough is smooth, it won't make a difference to the flavor. You just need to make sure that everything is combined completely and there are no floury patches anywhere. When you are satisfied, give it a rough round shape and transfer the dough into an oil-coated bowl for proofing. Depending on how cold or hot the day is, the dough will have doubled in size in about an hour on a hot day, or it could take a little longer if it's cold. After an hour, if your dough is trying to escape like mine did, then you should have used a bigger bowl. Transfer the dough onto a floured work surface and proceed stretching and pressing it until all the air is gone. This way the yeast, which is still alive and eating the sugars, will distribute more evenly for the last proofing. Shape the dough to its final shape however you like and transfer it to a baking pan or tin that is lined with baking paper. Cover it with a wet kitchen towel and let it rest for 30 minutes, during which it should double in size again. While this is happening, preheat your oven at 220 Celsius or 430 Fahrenheit. After the final proofing period is done, remove the towel and bake the bread at 200 Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit for 40 minutes, or until its internal temperature reaches 90 Celsius or 190 Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, the next best way to know if your bread is done is to tap the bottom of the loaf. The bread should sound hollow. Also, it should weigh less than its original weight. After the baking is done, let the bread rest onto a rack for 10 minutes and you're good to go. Although, for this recipe, I would suggest letting it drop to room temp before you cut some slices. It's way better that way. If you give it a try, tell me what you think in the comment section. Also, consider subscribing and pressing the like button if you enjoy this kind of content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.